And just like that, I got former fighter, fought for a title, one of the best trainers in boxing, John Iceman Scully. I appreciate you taking some time, man. We're just coming off the Canelo fight last night, but obviously for me, the biggest news over the weekend was the fact that the Artur Beterbiev and BIVOL fight is postponed. So I think we got the news Friday. So let's just jump in. When did it happen? When did you hear about it? And what happened? Because I read that it was his meniscus that was torn.
Right. To be honest with you, I don't know when it happened. I think it must have been something like before I got there. You know what I mean? Like I think he was training, everything was fine. I don't think it was like that, that day or whatever. I think it was an ongoing thing, and I think he's the type of guy, like when he had the infected tooth, which you could imagine must be very painful, right? He never said a word. He never said a word. And I think this is the same thing. Like he just kind of didn't really say anything until it reached the point where it was like, all right, I gotta tell you what's going on here. And because I didn't notice anything, but I know he had like I'm not really familiar with what it is, but some kind of bandage or something. And I figure out maybe he's just tight or something. I didn't realize it was as serious as it was.
Well, you also said he has a high pain tolerance, so he might have done this, a week or two ago. So, is it I know he had some kind of a procedure done on his knee. I think after the Smith fight, something major. Is it the same leg, or are you not really sure?
I'm not really sure because, like I say, I never get too much into it with him, like with that type of stuff.
Right.
I don't want it to be on a fighter's mind anyway.
Right.
So I just, I saw him training. I figured everything was good. And then he took a day, he took a day off, which I assume was to go see the doctor. And then the next day the fight was off.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked a couple of times in the last few weeks, and you talked about how good he's looked in training. So, man, it's look, fans are bummed. I'm sure he's bummed. Now, maybe you only know what I've read, but supposedly he's out till September. But Turkey Al-Sheikh wants to reschedule the fight for later in the year. Have you heard anything different, or is that accurate information?
I've heard that BIVOL has a replacement. That he's fighting somebody
for June
else.
1st. Well, I did read that for June 1st. They're trying to get a replacement because they still have that 5-on-5 card that's going on the undercard. But obviously, I mean, BIVOL, we're assuming if there's a replacement, he's going to win. And we're hearing that we're going to get this fight before the end of the year. I just don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, I'll say this. I don't know anything at all about the meniscus. I don't even know what it does. I don't know what it is.
Right.
But I'll say this. As soon as the fight was canceled, like literally within a minute of the time I found out, a friend of mine who's a fighter who had the same injury texted me, and he goes, "Oh man, I had it, and I actually fought with it, and then I had to get it, whatever they did to it after." And he said the turnaround was relatively quick. And he said, somebody like Artur, he'll probably recover relatively quickly. So, when I think of just my first reaction, meniscus, your knee, I'm thinking, oh, you're going to be out for a year, but I've heard that it wouldn't be unlikely that Artur could fight by the end of the year.
Yeah. I'm no doctor either, but I do know like a torn ACL is much worse than a meniscus. So, yeah, it's man, with the Canelo fight coming up, I was looking forward to the fight, Canelo Mungia, but I couldn't wait. It was that, and then Fury Usyk, and then the fight for me was Artur and BIVOL. So there's a lot of great fights coming up. So it's everybody's bummed by this, and I asked you this before, but I have to ask again. Artur's 39, so Are you worried at all that I know as dedicated as he is, he's still 39, and at some point your body starts to get injuries you didn't have in your 20s. So
Right.
is that a concern at all for you that he's aging, and even the great ones age and their bodies sometimes betray them?
Well, I know that sooner or later the end is going to come. I obviously, as I'm thinking, and I don't know. This is just me guessing. Like he trains hard, like harder than anybody I've ever seen. He's a maniac. He trains. You know, there could be a such thing as overdoing it. Maybe he trains too hard. Maybe he's just putting so much strain on his body. Maybe that's why he's in such phenomenal shape, because he pushes to the limit. Like this is a guy who, you've seen him do the weight bar, and he twists it
Yes.
around. He does it so easily that I didn't think it was a big deal. And one of my friends was like, "Nah, man, like how much that bar weighs?" I said, "I don't know, 8 pounds." And he goes, "Nah, it weighs like 35 pounds." But the way Arthur does it, it looks like it weighs 5 pounds. So he pushes himself to the max, and there's a price, I guess, that comes with that. But I
Yeah.
don't see like the way he's. I mean, look, his last fight, his most recent professional boxing match, I texted him like the next day, and I said, "That's the best you've ever looked as a pro.
Yeah.
You looked
Yeah.
better than you've ever looked in your life." So I don't know. He's there's something to be said for a clean lifestyle, because this guy is about as clean as you could get.
Right.
And he's
This
similar.
happened.
He's like Bernard in that way.
Right. You were already in Montreal in camp. When were you guys supposed to go to when were you guys supposed to go to Saudi?
Saturday. Yeah. Yeah. We were ready to go.
So were you able to see him? Because I'm assuming, are you still in Canada or are you back home?
No, I came back because I have Stephen Butler fighting on ESPN June 6th. So we're getting ready for that.
Were you able to see Artur before you left? And if you did see him, okay.
I saw him on Wednesday. He went to the doctor Thursday, and the fight was canceled Friday. So I just went home.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about June 6th, because you're busy yourself. Tell me about that fight. It's a big one for you guys.
Yeah, no, it's the last one a few weeks ago was a big one with Steve Rolls, and people were telling me as recently as the day before the fight, they were telling me, Scully, you guys are in a deep fight here. Like, this is a 50-50 fight. And I said, man, all right. But I said, I know, but we're ready. We're prepared. And Steven was very explosive. I like where he's at now as a fighter. I like his mentality. And I've said it to you before. Mentality to me is everything. And you can change a fighter's whole life by changing his mentality. 100%. And I think that's what's happening with Steven. He's he's different. He's improving in mentality wise. And it's a great thing to see. I like I know that the guy's fighting is good and all that. But we're going to be ready 110%.
And that fight is on ESPN, right?
Right.
Man, I know you had that's June 6th, and Archer's fight was supposed to be June 1st. So, but look, is better than anyone that the show goes on. This is unfortunate, but I'm sure you have no doubts that we're going to see Artur and Bivol in the ring at some point.
Oh, for sure. This isn't going to change anything. Like Arthur, this is what he's always dreamed of. He's always said, he's never said BIVOL. He said undisputed. Whoever that is, whoever I have to fight to be undisputed. And that's he doesn't want anything else. I know that for sure.
So moving on to Canelo and Mungia. I'm sure you watched the fight. What were your thoughts post-fight?
I was only able to see the clips because I was on the road heading home from camp.
Got you.
Uh, I've been told by good boxing people that it was Mungia did well. Like he didn't embarrass himself by he made a fight of it. Uh, you know, I mean, I expected Canelo to win. I didn't think he was going to lose. So sounds like it went the way it was probably supposed to.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I thought Canelo looked good. I was surprised. I read an article. It looked to me like he let his foot off the gas. I don't know because I'm not in the ring, but he was telling reporters after the fight that he could have knocked Mungia out, but he didn't, which I don't, I don't know. He definitely he won a pretty. I mean, when you hear that, Scully, like, what do you think when a guy says, "Yeah, I could have knocked him out, but I decided not to"?
I doubt it. I mean, a fighter, like, we want nothing more than to knock somebody out. I know, me, I wasn't a puncher like that. I wasn't Tommy Hearn, anything like that. But
Right.
if I got an opportunity to knock somebody out, they were going. Like it was, I was gonna do. It's like being a little kid in a candy store. When you see somebody hurt and you just want them, you want to decimate them so badly. You're thinking of nothing else. For him to say he took his foot off the gas, I'd actually say maybe it's time for you to get out of the game. What are you doing? Like your marketability and everything depends on your not just your appearance, but your words. People don't want to hear that you knocked him out after we paid $85 to watch you, and you decided not to. We paid for you to knock him out. What are you talking about?
Yeah, like I hear that too, and I'm thinking, it always looks better when you knock someone out, especially Canelo knocking out a younger fighter, strong fighter. So to hear that, I didn't really buy it, but
I say maybe. I know how fighters think, right? Maybe he thought he was going to knock the kid. He couldn't knock the kid out. He has nothing left to say, but I could have, but I didn't want to. And the reality is he couldn't.
Yeah. Well, I want to play. It's a short clip, but of course, everyone's talking about Benavidez. But this is a short clip from the post-fight press conference, and I just want you to react to this.
Now, after this victory, are we going to see you fight sometime soon, David Benavidez? Thank you.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna rest and talk with my team. And like I say, everybody asking for everything, but and I always did. I always fight with everybody. You asking so, but right now I'm in the position I can ask him to. So I'm in the position I can ask him to, and I can do whatever I want, and we'll see what happens next. I could finish the fight, yeah, but I take my time. I take my time. That's why it's 12 rounds to see who's the best, and I take my time, and I don't want to make mistakes. So I did what I supposed to do to win, and Mungia is a strong fighter. You need to be careful with that, and I just take my time.
Oh, see, I didn't see that. See, knowing fighters lingo, right? That tells me he felt Mungia's power.
Okay.
Okay, I gotta be careful with this kid because if I go for the knockout and he catches me, maybe something bad happens. So, and I'm not criticizing. I would do the same thing. But there's certain guys you feel the power and you say, okay, a decision would be a more likely outcome here. So that interview tells me that he felt something he didn't like.
Right. And Benavidez. I didn't really quite understand his answer.
Yeah.
He says everyone wants everything. I'm assuming he's saying all these fighters want a lot of money. But do you think that Benavidez is going to happen? Because obviously now Benavidez is moving up to 75 for his next fight. Who knows if he'll be back, but does he sound like a fighter who wants to fight Benavidez?
Not at all. It's funny because last month or a few weeks ago, whatever it was, when they interviewed him and he was talking about not fighting Benavidez and why, I was like, man, I don't think he understands how this is coming across. But I'm getting the impression that he doesn't want to fight Benavidez at all. Like that's what it seems like to me. And look, I don't call anybody a coward or anything like that. I'm not, I'm just saying his words. It's almost like you want to say something without actually saying it. So you say all these different things, but I'm going to translate it for you. And translated, his words seem to be, I don't really want to fight Benavidez. That's what I take.
That's all you can really do, because he he kind of contradicts himself. He says he wants to fight him, but then when he keeps talking, it sounds like, well, maybe he doesn't really want to fight him. So I don't know. I mean, no one knows what Canelo's next move is going to be. I've heard it might be Berlanga. Someone still, for some reason, is throwing out Jamal Charlo. You know what? I do want to ask you something Sean Porter said last night.
Yeah.
He said that the two fighters that deserve a shot against Canelo, and he ranked them. First, he had Bud Crawford, and then he had Benavidez. And it's an opinion. It's an opinion, but for me, I can't see Bud Crawford deserving a fight with Canelo more than a guy who's been in the weight class all this time. That's my opinion.
I mean, it's not that Crawford couldn't do well or anything, but he shouldn't even be in the picture. Like his name shouldn't even be. Man, look, I love Sean. Sean's my buddy. I love Sean. And I don't know exactly what Sean is getting at, but I'm saying, the guy's a welterweight. He has, like saying that the welterweight champ should be fighting the former light heavyweight champ, like it's not a big deal, like it's just normal. When the guy hasn't even fought at 160 yet. So I don't really know where people are going with this. He doesn't deserve to fight. He's never fought a guy that weight. Go fight a guy. It's kind of weird. Like boxing's a funny game. Boxing is a business, and we know this. And I know this more than ever. Like if a guy goes up in weight, he should fight. So he should want to fight a contender in the weight class to get acclimated, show people stuff. But no, they don't do that. They go, we're going to go directly to the fight. I don't care if the guy's 25 pounds more than me. I'm going directly to it. And part of that is because just in case I do badly, I don't want to do badly against a regular guy. I want to do badly for $10 million. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a business. It's strategic. And I realize that now more than ever. Yeah, for sure.
Well, you can see, like on the screen, Leisure says the best guy in boxing doesn't deserve a shot. But I guess your point is there's weight classes for a reason.
Does he deserve a shot at Tyson Fury? I mean,
I was going to say, does Inouye deserve a shot at Tyson Fury since he's? But I get your point.
Yeah. What are we talking? I mean, I'm not sure who the guy is that said that. I can't see his name.
Leisure.
Right. Well, I mean, with all due respect, I don't think Leisure is really thinking this through or knows how this works. But it doesn't work like that. You don't just say, I want to fight this guy and I deserve it, even though I'm 25 pounds lighter than him.
Right.
It makes no sense. Like it's clearly money is first and foremost, because if I'm going to do that, obviously, like people say, like Crawford says, I want to fight Canelo. It's like, no. I want to fight Canelo for millions of dollars. Don't just say you want to fight Canelo, because you're not going to fight Canelo for 500,000. You're not going to fight him for 1 million. Think about it. You're not going to a purse that the majority, 95%, 98% of the fighters on earth will never make $1 million. But Crawford would laugh at $1 million to fight Canelo. So don't tell me you want to fight the guy. You want to fight the guy for millions of dollars. Let's be real here.
Right. And there's another question. Adam Hurley says, and you answered this, but does Beterbiev still want to do the fight sometime, John, with Bivol?
100%. Like Artur is a different type of person. Like he puts boxing legacy first before the money. Like that, this guy's a real Muslim. Like finances don't dictate him. He wants to be undisputed 100%. He knows what it is. He knows who can Bivol is. He wants that fight 100%.
So the other thing in the news, and we talked about this a little bit, but right now, Ryan Garcia, I heard his B test came back positive. So I guess he's, you have to give him his due process and to try and prove why his why he popped for, I think it was 2 PEDs, but
Right.
he's on social media, and he really, if you see the way he's acting, he doesn't have a care in the world. He's acting the same way he did before. So, drugs are prevalent in the sport. I will say I haven't read up on all his details, but they released the Garcia people that he had passed some of the tests leading up to the fight, maybe even 2 weeks before or a week before, and then the week of he popped dirty. So I don't know enough about the drugs. I know there's a cycle involved to be effective. So it seems weird, but what do you make of Ryan Garcia and what's happening right now?
Well, let me preface this by saying I hate drugs. Like I hate that it's a thing. I hate that the guys are doing it. I don't respect it at all. That's where I'll go with that first. I don't know. I also don't know anything about them. Like I literally, I don't know what a steroid is. I've never seen one. I don't know what they do. I have no idea how they work. I don't know if you take them, they're pills, or I don't know what they're doing. I've heard some people take a cream. They
Yeah,
rub it up
the
themselves.
cream,
I
right?
don't. So I don't know, but I'm not a fan of it. I tell you what, I sparred with a guy one time who was on steroids. Right, his power was from another planet that he didn't previously possess. I know whatever he was taking should be punishable by death. Like you should not be using this against other human beings, because at the very least you should be, it should be attempted assault, maybe attempted murder.
Murder, right?
I know a kid, and I'm not gonna say his name. He may end up watching this. I think he probably will, but he's affected by boxing, right? I've known him since he was 11. He's affected. He's about 40 now. He's affected by boxing. He told me he sparred with a guy whose coach was the one trainer, was the one giving him the steroids. And he said, I sparred with him when he was on steroids and when he was off. And the power difference was astronomical. And he said, literally word for it, he said, that's why I am like I am now, because of that guy, because of sparring with him. They used me as a sparring partner because he had at the time, he had 7 or 8 pro fights, and the other guy had 20 something. The other guy was, you'd know the guy if I said his name, okay? And he said, that's why I am like I am now, because they did that to me. And this kid actually he tagged everybody on Facebook. He goes, Coach Joe, whatever his name was, he goes, you're not going to say anything because I'll expose it all. And so this kind of stuff is happening. I've sparred with a guy on it, and the power was unnatural. Like it felt, even if I didn't know he was doing it, I would have known it was unnatural because it's something different. It should be punishable, but we live in a messed up world. Like I told you about when I met the guy for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I told you that. And what he told me about the NFL, everybody's on steroids. He said, you can't be in the NFL and not be on steroids.
Right.
He said you wouldn't last a day in the NFL. So we're in that. We've reached that point where these guys are doing it. And like I said, I don't respect it. I'm not a fan of it. If they said lifetime ban, I go, fine. Like I know if I murder someone, I'm going to prison. I know that.
Right.
I'm not stupid. Well, you should know that if you use steroids, then you should go and be banned from boxing forever, if not charged with something, especially if you do it, you pop after the fight. You say, okay, I just fought a guy for 7 rounds until I knocked him unconscious, and I beat him up for a while, and now his face is contusions, and That's not right, man. It's not right. And people can say, "Oh, you're soft, or you got to get with the times." No, man. No, like this can never be acceptable, and that's the problem. There's people watching me right now who are saying that I'm soft, that John's soft, like he's got to get with the times. Come on, man. Like people die. I've been there when people have died. I've watched it. I've been ringside. I
Yeah.
was in the dressing room with a guy who was falling into a coma. I didn't realize. I said bye to the guy, and he mumbled something to me. I didn't realize until 2 days later when I read it in the New York Post that he was in a coma. I didn't know. I walked out and said bye to the guy. I've seen this up close, man. You can't tell me anything about it. Like it's wrong. It's wrong.
Well, for people saying you're soft, look, they're still banned. It's not like they're allowed in the sport. They're banned,
Right.
and they're called performance-enhancing drugs
Right.
because they enhance your performance.
It's in the name,
So I want to get back to that, but I do want to get some questions in. Linda Woods wants to know if you think that the heavyweight weight differences of 20 and 40 pounds make the lower weight classes think they can go up and down in weight classes like Crawford and Canelo.
They do, but it doesn't make sense. Like fighting a guy 20 pounds heavier when you weigh 225 and he weighs 245 is not a big deal. But when you weigh 105 and the guy weighs 125, he's going to kill you. Every featherweight on earth will knock out every flyweight on earth.
Right.
Badly, right? But Chris Bird at 208 could beat guys who weighed 245 because he weighs 208. He's big. He's a big, strong guy with very good skills. But you're talking a percentage of body weight. You get a guy and he gives up like 20% of his body weight to another guy. Well, now you're going to get hurt. Now, so the weight, moving up in weight for some weight classes is a little bit different than for others.
So getting back to Garcia though, because he still has a process to go through. He's failed 2 tests now, I guess officially. So I don't know how much time he gets to prove his case, but I think the fight might turn into a no contest at some point.
Imagine, man.
And I want to get your thoughts because leading up to the fight, and we talked about this. Everyone's talked about this, how Garcia was acting. But then the night of the fight, he did what a lot of people didn't think he could do, and it turned into a good night for the sport because he upset. Some people talk about the weight, but it was an upset. He did things that no one thought he would do. Most people,
right.
And then a week later,
right.
we're back into the cesspool and the gutter. So
I was happy for the guy. I was happy for boxing, and quite to be honest, when Haney's father said about he wants his son to kill Ryan, I said, that's taking too far. That's just ignorance, and that's a guy who never fought. You know what I mean? Like guys who fight don't say, generally don't say that.
Right.
When Ryan won, he won in the. It was a good story. It was a good story for the game. Now this, I went from really respecting the guy and being super happy for him. Now I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wait and reserve judgment, but I'm ready to unload if this is what you did, because it's like finding out Santa Claus is a child molester. You know what I mean? You're like, you lied to me that blatantly in my face.
Yeah.
And made me think all this great things about you, and now it turns out this is who you really are. I'm not. And look, I don't know if I ever told you the story. I'll tell you real quick, just to show you who I am. Right before I fought, and I'll tell the short version. Before I fought Michael Nunn, big fight, and I was training so hard and running so much and everything that I was really struggling in the sparring. I was doing well, but I was struggling to make things happen. I was just digging down. Right before the fight, I said to myself, I gotta have one really good day of sparring before this fight. Like I gotta have a day where I don't feel beat up and tired. And so I went to the drugstore and I was like, I'm not trying to buy steroids, but I'm just like, I wonder if there's something that could, make me feel good, and make me like, snap out of this. And I bought no-dos, right? I bought some no-dos.
Oh man.
Now, I don't know if it's psychological or not. I took it the morning of the day of sparring, and I didn't feel anything, for a while. And I get to the gym, and I still didn't feel anything. I go in and I spar, and I stopped a future world title challenger like with an uppercut. Like it was like I was Mike Tyson. Like I hit him with an uppercut. I don't know if it was mental or what. They took him out. They put me into another guy. I was like, it was funny. I always say this. I sparred with this guy for 3 rounds. I got out of the ring, right? And I'm standing there. They're taking my gloves off, and I'm saying to myself, I am pound for pound the best fighter in the world. Like I was so awesome in the sparring. I was like, this is crazy. I'm gonna beat Michael Nunn. This is crazy. I went to bed that night. I was awake for like 35 hours, right? But
That stuff is caffeine, right? It's a caffeine pill.
I wanted to go to sleep so bad. I was at 6 a.m. I was screaming. I was in the room downstairs in the house, and I was going, I just want to go to sleep. I was just talking to myself. But I'll tell you what happened the next day. I thought about it. I say, you know what? I don't want to do this. I don't want to, because if I win this fight, and I lost the decision, I said, if I win this fight, I'm never going to know if I could have beat the guy without this, because my confidence would have been skyrocketed. Like this stuff made me all, especially after the sparring. I said, I don't want this. I don't want to win like this. And I tell you what, that was in 1995. I threw it in a garbage can, and I've never touched a box of no-dos ever since. Never.
Well, yeah, I do remember no-dos. I don't know if it's still around, but I do know it's a caffeine pill, and it jacks you up.
And it works.
You know who gets jacked up on caffeine before he does shows is Paulie Malignaggi. Paulie drinks these Manhattan special things. It's like a soda coffee thing, and he gets and Paulie doesn't really need it anyway.
Yeah, right.
So caffeine has an effect. But Banana Bread has I love that name too. Banana Bread has a question for you, Mr. Scully. When you sparred with that guy with steroids, was his power like someone 10 pounds heavier, 20 pounds heavier? Can you help us understand how weight classes make so much of a difference in power?
He was probably the same weight as me, I would say. But it was just like, I mean, he was throwing punches, and I have a good defense. I block a lot of shots. I actually gauge power by putting my hands up, and I let the guys punch me on the glove because I want to see what it feels like, And it was like all I could think of. The best way to describe it, like something that would make you compare it to something. I say, think of what a cannonball would feel like. A cannonball. That's what it felt like. And I remember thinking, and I don't say, look, I've sparred with 1,000 people. I've fought over 100 fights in my career, amateur and pro. I've never said this. And I'm saying, man, if this guy hits me flush, it's going to really hurt. It's going to really, and I don't say that about very many people, but I'm like, man, I got to keep my hands up. This freaking guy's hitting hard. And I know he normally didn't hit like that. That's the thing. So I know he was on, and let me say this. I knew this guy for a few years, and his appearance physically when we sparred was a million times different than his appearance 6 months earlier. He was a different human being at the time. So I know everybody around knew what he was doing, but I had never sparred him before until that day. And I was like, okay, now I see the benefits. Yeah.
Wow. Well, here's another one from Leisure. Iceman, how is bad Chad Dawson? Is he alive and well? I mean, I know he's alive, but
yeah. I don't see Chad very often. To be honest, I've only seen him probably twice in the last 6-7 years. He has a gym in New Haven, Connecticut. I think it's called Champions Breed. I believe it's in New Haven.
I think you're right.
Yeah, it's a town next to New Haven, maybe. He has some amateurs that he trains. I guess his son boxes. But I haven't run across him very often. But I know he's around. He's okay.
Yeah, you had a good run with
Yeah.
Chad, and I've told people before that when I met you, I was with HBO and we were doing a 24/7 on
Right.
Chad's fight with Andre Ward, and I
Right.
was with you guys in Connecticut, and then you relocated to Vegas. So,
Right.
which that was a tough night, obviously
Yeah.
for Chad.
That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole, and we've talked about it a little bit, but yeah, that's a whole. I mean, that's definitely a whole other story.
Yeah.
Well, we got to fight this week. The fights don't stop. You've got Kambosos against Lomachenko for a vacant belt at 135.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that fight?
Here's where we're at in boxing today. Guys fight so infrequently that I can't really gauge them because I haven't seen them in so long. You know what I mean? I don't know. I would think if both guys are at their best, I can't see Lomachenko losing. I could not picture that. And Kambosos is a good fighter, of course. I'm just saying Lomachenko is something special. I couldn't picture him losing. I don't know. I know he's older. I think he's like 37 now. Maybe
I
older.
think so, yeah.
He's up. He's at least 35. I know. So I don't know if I was gonna bet blindly, I'd bet on Loma just because he's who he is. But guys lose it sometimes. They lose it overnight. Inactivity is not a good thing. And who knows? They're fighting over there. That's always a factor. And it's terrible to have to even say that, but it's a factor. Of course it is.
Yeah,
so
it's a reality. Yeah.
right, it's the reality of the game. Yeah.
Well, Johnny. Johnny says, I thought Beterbiev was a machine. Machines don't break down repeatedly. Well, I mean, if I may say first, he is a man. So, but John, I'll let you respond to that.
If you run a car, if you run a whatever the good car is, I don't know much about cars, but you take the good car and go on the highway every day and drive 100 miles to Boston at 100 miles an hour, you're going to have some problems, right? More than if you drove it for 5 years going the speed limit, to your aunt's house. So, the guy's a beast. To claim otherwise would be kind of ridiculous. He breaks down at this point because he's a beast. That's why he does. That shows you what he puts his body through. Like, I've seen it. I've been there. I've seen it on video, but I've stood there and watched him. The man is incredible. There's no one on earth can tell me anything negative about him and his physicality, because I know his strength coach, who's a beast in his own right. He works with hockey players. He works with all kinds of athletes, MMA guys, and he told me matter of factly, so I never worked with anybody as strong as Artur. Like this, he's number one.
That's the older guy, right? His strength coach. What's his name?
Andre. He's like 75 years old. He plays handball with Artur and beats Artur sometimes. He's insane. He's amazing, that guy.
John, when Artur fought Joe Smith, I think I told you ESPN does a show called Blood, Sweat, and Tears. It's like 24/7. And I was one of the producers on that, and I was in Joe Smith's camp, which I told you, but I helped put the show together, and I saw the footage with Andre and Artur and their relationship and them playing handball. And that he beat him. He beat him on camera.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that the guy's in his 70s,
right?
He's amazing.
He doesn't act it. He's like, when you shake his hand, it's like, man, this guy's like made out of rock. Like he's super strong. He's awesome in his own right, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, in May we've also got Tyson Fury and Usyk, and look, my fingers are crossed with that one. It's May 5th right now. The fight's still on, and we talked about this, and I know your pick might change closer to it, but what do you see? I mean, there's pictures of Fury with, he's had this weight loss, and people are saying he's in tremendous shape, but what do you think going into that fight?
Well, let me just say this first. I was supposed to be there. I was going to be at the fight. and now I'm not. That's just another blow from this
That's
development.
right. That's right. Oh man.
There, it was the last time, to the best of my knowledge and memory, the last time, or maybe the only time, I've been in an undisputed world title fight. I was at the first Holyfield Bowe fight in Vegas 31 years ago. So I was super excited to be there for that, and so obviously I'm going to miss it. You know, I like both guys for different reasons. I think Usyk is really good. You know, really, really good. But just Tyson Fury, I think, is really, really good. And if he's on his game, I pick him to win. I just think, you know, a lot of people, it's weird. Like, people are negative about him on certain things, right? Some of it's personal. You know what I mean? And I'm like, listen, man, you got to separate that. You know, when he beat Wilder, you know, Wilder was a force. Wilder was a force. And for him to get up from that knockdown, when I literally contemplated the idea that he was dead, that I said he died, like he killed him, and because his eyes were shut, you know what I mean, and he popped up like Michael Myers. It's one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. You know, the man is special. You know, when he's on his game, he's special. And you know, I don't know, because you know, again, the guys fight so infrequently, and you know, he's shown some. I don't know if he's like, what's his name, Garcia, like he's pretending to be a little crazy. Maybe he's not. I don't know. I don't know anymore. With Fury, with Garcia, I don't know who's pretending. But assuming he's there and he comes as him at his best, I would bet on him to win.
Well, I want to get a couple more questions, and I'm going to let you go. But Teach says, I understand that your fighter is strong, but this is like the third injury, making him have to push a fight back, and it's always a long layoff. Is this fight in 2025?
I mean, everything that I'm hearing from our team, from the doctors, and from, like I say, friends of mine who've had this injury, that the fight will happen in 2024. That's, as I understand it, that's the plan, 2024.
Okay. You brought up the fact that you were at the first Holyfield Bowe fight,
right?
Which I got to ask you, man. I mean, that was obviously, I thought, the best of their trilogy fights.
Sure.
What was that like being there, and why were you there? Were you just there as a fan? Were you working with someone?
No, I fought the semifinal. I was the last fight before they fought. I fought Tim Littles for the USBA title.
Oh man, I totally forgot that. Then I saw you fight because I watched that fight on pay-per-view.
Well, let me tell you what happened. And I'm so lucky that this happened. Because you know, I was losing a lot of weight and I had no fluid in my skin or whatever they call it. And I didn't know this until after, but the desert air like sucks the fluid out of you, and I didn't know that. So I got cut in the fight really bad. The fight went 12 rounds. We went to the decision, but I got cut really, really bad. Bad enough that after my fight, I left the arena. I walked to a mini mart down the street from the Thomas and Mack Center to get a pair of sunglasses so that I could stay and watch the main event. Wasn't going to the hospital, but I didn't want to walk around the arena, you know, all sliced up. So I said, I got to get my sunglasses. I came back. I watched the fight. Believe it or not, we didn't have tickets. They didn't give us tickets to the fight. When we fought, we were expected to leave and go home, to go to the hotel. And I'm like, I said, I'm not, you know, I don't have a seat, but I'm going to walk around this arena constantly. So during the fight, I literally walked around the perimeter of the floor. I just watched.
Wow.
I was on the move. During the 10th round, never forget my thoughts. I said, this must be what it was like to be in the Roman Colosseum when they were fighting with the lion or whatever, because the wave of energy, it was like Bowl fans over there and the Holyfield fans over there, and they took turns in that. There was a 10th round or the 9th round. They took turns like demolishing each other, and you know, for 15 seconds, this 10,000 people was screaming, and then all of a sudden these 5,000 would go nuts, and then these 10,000 would go, no, we're gonna go nuts, and it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Man, you brought that up, and then I thought about that fight, and I don't remember. You're right. It's either the 9th or 10th round where Bo hurt him early and was all over him, and then somehow Holyfield came back and hurt Bo.
Right.
I mean, oh man, how did they let you back into the arena? Is it because you fought and they knew that you were a fighter on the card?
I guess I took my glasses down. I said, hey man, I think I probably, knowing me, I probably told him, hey man, I had to go to the store, but I got to go back in and get my stuff. You know, I got to get my stuff. Trust me, I get in. I've gotten into a lot of fights without a ticket.
Yeah,
for sure.
So you just walked around, like you said, you walked around the perimeter for that whole fight.
So the floor, you got the floor, and you got, it was in where UNLV plays. So it's a basketball arena. So I was on the floor. So I literally watched the fight while I was walking in a major circle. So I saw the fight from every angle possible because I was going around a circle.
That's a cool way to watch the fight. Like you said, you're different angles and different perspectives, different parts of the arena. You might have been near the Holyfield fans one time and the Bo fans another.
During that amazing, crazy round, I was standing back watching, and I'm going, the audience interaction is as amazing as the fight. Like, these people are into it, and it was almost like thousands of them were together, and then thousands for the other guy were together. It wasn't like they were mixed up. It was like Holyfield had his section and Bo had his section. So they took turns yelling at each other and taunting each other and being in control. And I'm standing back watching this, and I'm going, this is like the Gladiators. This must like. Yeah, it was cool.
Wow. That's really cool, man. Banana Bread has another question. Mr. Scully, as a coach, how would you have approached training older athletes like Triple G? If you coach him after a split with Abel Sanchez, could you still have taught an old dog new tricks? Thank you.
Believe it or not, yes. I wouldn't change anybody's style at that point. But
right.
Believe, and it's not me being cocky, right? I'm gonna tell you examples. Like, and any high level coach could do this. Like, I don't care who it is. You show me any fighter on earth, I'm going to show you they're doing something wrong. They're lazy. They're making a mistake. Something is and sometimes the coach may not notice it because he sees it every day. And, some, like, even myself, sometimes I didn't train certain guys to do certain things because it was so simple. I said, they must already know this. Like they must have heard this before already. And then I've showed them things, and I've literally showed guys stuff that I thought was basic that everybody knew. And I can tell you two guys in particular who I showed it to, a simple move, a basic move. They were like shocked. They were like, I remember one of them going, man, that's good stuff. He goes, I gotta save that for my next fight. And in my mind, I'm going, you're like 30 years old. You never heard this technique before? I said, everybody in my gym knows this, all the amateurs. But you'd be surprised what people could learn and what they don't know. Some guys are so good that they don't know certain things because they never had to use it. They get away with it. Even myself, I boxed for a long, long time. I've been in the ring with everybody and stuff. I remember my last fight was in 2001, and I always tell the story. My last fight was 2001. Russ Amber, who's a trainer, cut man, Russ, right? Rival product owner. Russ showed me a technique that I never, to get more distance on my jab, to have a better jab, right? He showed it to me. We trained before the fight in Montreal. The fight was in Toronto. He showed me a technique I had never heard before. I had never seen before. I was like learning math for the first time. And I used it in the fight. Not only was it, it made my jab so much better, but in the 20 years that have passed since, 22 years, whatever it is, I've taught all my fighters this particular technique, including Chad Dawson, who developed a much better jab. based on it. And so I didn't know that. And I had already had, at the time, I had already had 48 professional fights, and I had never heard of
Wow.
this. So you can definitely show people, I don't care who they are, they can learn something, whether it's mental, it could be something mental, it could be something psychological. You could always teach somebody something.
And you brought up Russ, and he's worked with Artur. I mean,
Yeah.
he's been a staple with you guys for quite a while, right?
Well, he's not with us anymore. He's actually right now with Usyk. He's with Usyk. We had another guy who's been in the camp with us for years. He does the cuts. He actually, one fight when Russ got COVID against Marcus Brown, it was actually this kid Luke who actually stopped the cut and treated the cut in that fight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that, and did I mean, a fantastic job in
Yeah.
that fight.
Yeah.
Johnny wants to know, is there VADA testing, or was there VADA testing for Beterbiev and BIVOL?
I have no idea. I like I said before, I don't know anything about steroids. I don't know how to get them, what to do with them, how to inject them. Do you eat them, drink them? I don't know. I don't know about the testing. I never had any curiosity. I always assume that everybody I'm with is clean, and so it's never a question. It's never a thought. So I don't know, and I don't know. I thought I've heard VADA. I thought everybody does that, or maybe they don't. I don't know.
I don't think everyone does. I think most title fights are under VADA.
Okay,
But yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if every single. I believe the title fights do, but I could be wrong.
right, but what I mean is, is there some other group that could do it besides VADA, or VADA is the only one?
I think there is, but that's the screwed up part about boxing. There shouldn't be like multiple groups that test. You know, it should be just like there should be one boxing organization. There should be one testing center, but that's the confusion. It shouldn't be there.
I'm in boxing and I'm confused as more than anybody. Like, that's what's crazy.
Exactly. And Tech Undead said, and talking about your fight on that undercard, it was a pay-per-view. I remember that card. Holy crap, Scully was a dog. And Scully, I completely forgot that you were on that undercard. So I watched you fight that night.
Right.
And man, what a night.
Tim Littles, who was #1 contender at the time, very good fight. I knew Tim from the amateurs. He was an elite amateur, and I just remember, Michael Moore was on the card. Michael was the main one. I remember it was a big show, obviously. But I just remember during the fight, actually, George Foreman said this, which I had never heard before. He goes, this desert air, people don't realize when you come to Las Vegas, it sucks the fluid out of your body. And I didn't know that. And it's after he said that, when I watched it on tape, when I left for Las Vegas, I couldn't get below 170. The weight was 168. And I remember thinking, man, this is crazy. Like, it's only 2 pounds. I just can't break that barrier. When I got to Las Vegas, I was running and stuff, and I was eating what I ate. And I got down to 166, like in 10 days. And I thought, oh, my system must be kicking in. I didn't realize my body was being depleted of fluids. I thought it was a good thing, but it turns out it probably, in hindsight, was not a good thing. But but Tim was very good anyway. He was going to be hard to beat regardless. But he because of the fluid being out of my face and whatever, and I cut 1, 2, 3, 4 cuts I had. Ooh. And Johnny Tocco, famous Johnny Tocco, he was. Not say a crazy thing. Before the fight, the security, or the inspectors came in, and they were looking through his bag, and they pulled out this stuff that he uses on the cuts, and they're, hey, what's this? And he got really mad. He grabbed it, and they know him in Vegas for 50, 60 years, and he's like, that's my, what that is? That's my stuff. And so he used it. He stopped my cuts. I went the distance, and he stopped the cuts. After the fight, when I go to the hospital to get stitches, they said, we can't stitch you. Like, whatever's in your eye is like concrete. We can't put the needle through it. It's stuck in there. And they described it as being like super glue mixed with baby powder. So he stopped my cut, but he stopped it with something that must have been illegal. and they had to leave it in there. My cuts healed with it inside my skin. I had to get plastic surgery later to have it removed. They had to take it out. I still have the scar right here and right here. They had to take it out. So that was a memorable night for sure.
Wow. I mean, and that, can you imagine even back in the days, like 40s, 50s, and 60s, what they must have used?
Well, I'll tell you a funny thing. That's because that's the era Johnny was from. That's his era, 50s, the 60s. But what I do remember, I went to a fight in the Poconos at the Fernwood Resort. Back in the day, the Fernwood Resort was so popular. They used to do so many ESPN fights there. It was an awesome place. We trained there for 3-4 weeks at a time. And I went to Shannon Briggs was fighting. And I remember Ernest Mateen was on the card and whatever. And we're there, and I saw Teddy Atlas. And this was only a couple weeks after my fight. And I saw Teddy Atlas, and we talked, and, hey, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. A couple of days later, my friend who was with me, he said Teddy Atlas told him, after Teddy saw my scars and stuff, Teddy Atlas told him, John's never going to be able to fight again. He's going to have to retire. So he knew what it was and what it did. But like I said, I went and got plastic surgery. They took it out, and
wow.
Great. Yeah.
Wow. That's because I always wondered, there must have been some magical coagulants back in the day to stop things, and the damage it did.
Whatever it was, like I say, before the fight, the inspectors came in and they were like, hey, what's this? They were freaking out over it. But Johnny got real mad, and I guess they respected him. They knew him, and he goes, hey, you know who I am. Give me that. And that was what he used on my eye. Yeah, crazy.
Wow. All right, a couple more. Flying Falcon says, does Scully know about halal meat and food? This is a source of pure nutrition that all the stress hormones won't get into your body the way present non-halal meat is eaten by many.
I know Artur eats that. Artur, every time we go to a fight, they send somebody out ahead of time to find a halal restaurant so that we can eat, there. And after the weigh-in, everybody goes with him and eats together. So yeah, I'm very aware of that. And obviously I asked Artur, like, what's this about? And why do you eat this particular thing? So yeah, I'm very aware of it. Yep.
And G Nunez, Iceman, when it comes to boxing training, how do you select the size of gloves to use? I've heard most recommended 16 ounce, but I've seen many train with 8 ounce. Wow. Is it personal preference?
Well, I mean, for sparring, I wouldn't use less than 16. Yeah.
Right.
I assume you're talking, maybe you must be talking about bag gloves, because nobody would spar in 8s or 10s.
No one would spar in 8 ounce gloves.
Nobody would want to spar somebody else in 8 and 10 ounces. And I was me and Michael Elijah, they had this debate. I said, because he said the size of the gloves didn't matter. I said, listen, go spar Julian Jackson with 10 ounce gloves and tell me what you think about that. Right? You're going to spar with 16s. And actually, Artur, believe it or not, he spars with either 18 or 20 ounces because he's trying to minimize. He doesn't want people to go home. You know what I mean? Like with 16 ounce gloves, it would be so much worse for people. So he spars with larger gloves. And I remember Lawrence Claybay, when I was training at Claybay used to wear, it was either 20 or 22 ounce gloves. And he did that partly because he didn't want to hurt anybody, but also because he figured my hands will be so much faster when I wear the 10 ounce in the real fight. So yeah, so I'm not gonna spar anybody that doesn't have at least 16 ounce gloves on.
22, like 24 ounce gloves. Remember when we were kids, I don't remember what the
boppers.
Yes. And there was the giant, like,
the
yes,
boppers.
Yes, the boppers. It must look like that.
Yeah, they're big gloves. Yeah, Claybay, and the other guys would wear 16 ounce. Because he was, Lawrence Claybay was very fast for a heavyweight. He was very fast for a big man. So he was still fast with those gloves. But he could hurt. He had heavy hands. So he, I guess he just Felt like he needed to protect these guys to a certain degree. But Arthur definitely wears bigger gloves as well. Yeah.
Well, apparently Kyle Hayden says they sell those in Walmart. I didn't think those were still around.
I
Those
haven't
those
seen a
I
box
remember those
years.
though.
Oh, I was 10. I used those before I ever started boxing. That was the first boxing I did was with boppers. Yeah, for sure. And you could hit, they were literally like huge. They were like giant
Yes.
pillows, and you could
Yes.
hit anybody as hard as you want. Yeah, that was
Yes.
those
I
were good
remember
days.
my brother and I fighting with those things on all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
You brought up Julian Jackson, so Tech Undead says Julian Jackson with 8-ounce gloves, that's a nightmare. Meaning you will have nightmares after he knocks you out. Ooh, yeah,
Yeah,
Julian Jackson.
you could never spar with Julian with anything less than 16. There's no way.
Wow. Well, I want to let you go. I respect your time. I know, I want to have you on a show where you talk about the help you do with fighters and the work you do with retired fighters, because that's how you and I really stayed in contact because of what you do with that. But you just had a gathering. You're always posting on Facebook your gatherings with fighters. Do you have anything coming up with any fighters? Because last year, I mean, you're doing things all the time. So I know you've got a lot, you're training a lot of guys now, but is anything on the horizon that you're doing with some of the fighters of the past?
Well, I want to do something like I did last summer in New York City.
Which I missed, and I'm pissed that I missed
it was awesome, and I want to do it again. The problem was the weekend of the Boxing Writers Association dinner, which I'm getting an award at. Stephen Butler fights the same night, so I can't even be there to get the award in New York City. The next day is the Hall of Fame weekend in Canastota, so that weekend is out. So I'm hoping to figure out if there's a pro show at some point in New York City in July or August. I would try to do something then, but as of right now, we are doing, and I'm helping put this together, especially this particular aspect of it. We're having in it looks like October of this year in California, Los Angeles area. They're doing a big boxing gala, amateur boxing, USA boxing gala, like Hall of Fame event, and I'm actually getting inducted into the USA Amateur Boxing Alumni Hall of Fame.
That's awesome.
That weekend, we are also, and I'm kind of in charge of getting the team together, and I've already talked to all of them, obviously, except the two who passed away. But we have the 1984 Olympic team, the 40-year anniversary of the gold medals in Los Angeles. So we're going to have them all there at this event. So I'm going to do a reunion that day, and those guys are going to be there. Plus, guys like Paul Banky and Paul Gonzalez and Tony the Tiger Lopez and Andy Nance and all those California, probably Arizona, maybe Vegas guys will be there.
Man, you keep bringing these like nuggets of gold up. The 84 Olympic team.
40 years.
I remember I was a kid when they fought, and I knew when they turned pro, almost all those guys signed with Main Events. And I wrote a letter because you remember back then there was no internet. So I wrote a letter to them and said, I really love these fighters. And they sent me back autographed pictures, like 8x10s. Yeah. I used to have them on my wall. I don't know what happened to those, but I do want to ask you, and I don't know why he's been on my mind, but Meldrick Taylor, is he going to be there? And do you have any idea? Because he wasn't doing great.
Nah, I'll tell you what, he's one of the two that I'm talking about that probably won't be there. I don't think it's possible to reach him. He's had his problems. I think he's going through some stuff, I guess. So him and Pernell Whitaker obviously passed away, so he won't be there. But we have Joey Balintz, who comes to my reunions anyway. He even came to the one in New York, even though he's from Washington State. He was actually, a lot of people don't know this, for Pernell to make that team, he had to win the box off.
Yes.
He had to beat Joey Balintz twice. He had to beat Joey Balintz because Joey beat him the first day.
Yep.
Honestly, kind of easily. And The second fight, I would say the majority of people who were there thought Joey beat Pernell again, but Pernell got it and went to the Olympics and became famous, all-time great Hall of Famer. And and Joey just had a pro career, and now he's doing very well. He sells cars, and he's got a car dealership. He's happy with his life, but history could have been changed if that happened. So I'm telling them, USA Boxing, I'm saying, look, let's have Joey there in place of Pernell, as he was the alternate anyway. Let's have him there and do that. So I assume that's what's going to happen. So, but we're going to have Michael Nunn, who lives in California, and he was the alternate on the team to Virgil Hill. So he'll be there. I would assume we'll have Ronnie Essett there, because Ronnie lives in California. He was the alternate to Frank Tate. So, we're going to have, just with the 84 team, we're going to have a special, but we're going to have everybody who was in amateur boxing at that time. Even, you don't even have to be at the national level. Just if you fought amateur as a kid, you can come as well.
Wow. Well, I know the closer that comes, I know you'll have more information. Yeah. Henry Tillman, he's gone. He passed away too, right?
No. I thought of Henry the other day. Matter of fact, Henry's going to help me get Holyfield to come. Henry and Holyfield are friends.
You know what? I'm thinking, I know who I'm thinking of, but you know what? I remember Tillman beat Tyson twice, because he had to beat him in the box. So I remember he and Tyson fought twice to make that 84 team. Man, that's a great gathering that you're going to have. Yeah. And it saddens me, Meldrick Taylor, he's been going through things for a long time. Yeah. So I just hope wherever he is, I hope he's healthy and he's safe. But these gatherings you do and everything you do for fighters, man, I respect it, man, and I appreciate it. So
I appreciate it.
Listen, we've been on for over an hour, and I appreciate you doing this. Everybody's bummed about Artur, but for you, it goes on. And like you said, you've got a fight coming up with one of your fighters, and just remind them the date and where they can see it.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's ESPN, June 6th, from the Montreal Casino in Montreal, Canada. So it'll be more like it'll be ESPN Plus.
Right.
ESPN has these different channels. So far, our last two fights have been ESPN Plus. So I assume that's what this one is as well.
Well, I can't wait for that. And I appreciate your time. I keep saying, like, oh man, I'm only going to do like 40 minutes, but then you keep bringing things up. Like you brought up Holyfield Bo and then the 84 team, and the conversations just go. But give our best to Artur, and I'll be watching on June 6th. And hopefully you and I can talk soon, because I love talking boxing with you. So, and like I said, I do want to do a show, though. Maybe the next time we talk, when you've got some time, it'll just be about what you're doing with fighters and maybe how people can help. Because I think I wish this was something that more people would do, but it doesn't happen.
They don't. It's amazing that it's not huge. It's amazing that it's kind of crazy. I think probably the masses of people don't realize what these situations actually are with Wilfred and Gerald. I don't think they quite realize how bad it is for them. But many fighters, even guys who are able-bodied, but they just, mentally and, all fighters don't end up like Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray ended up with his faculties and his money and, everything. He's doing beautifully. He's unusual, unfortunately.
And finally, like when I was a kid, almost all athletes, but especially boxers, they're like superheroes. And Hagler was a poster on my wall, and Sugar Ray Leonard was a poster on my wall. And then with Hagler passing away a few years ago, he was healthy, but you don't, like, those guys are like Supermen, and you don't expect them to die. And when you bring up someone like Wilfred Benitez, who I remember being a little kid and watching Sugar Ray beat him, but what a fighter he was. And then when you see the state that he's in today, because of boxing, and you're one of the, look, I don't want to bash anyone else, but you're one of the few that helps him, just to see the state that some of these great fighters are in. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That's why I really respect what you do. But these guys, when you're a kid, even when you're older, like they're almost like superheroes. But
Yeah,
you
yeah.
realize they're not. What you
Right.
guys do, and I'm including you because you're a fighter as well. What you guys do, you take a lot of punishment, and it takes a toll on a lot of people. So
100%. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
so I definitely appreciate you. And this time I am going to let you go because I'm telling you, I could keep firing away things at you. But listen, appreciate your time. I'll be watching June 6th, and we definitely have to talk soon because, like I said, I want to talk about the work you do with fighters.
All right. Just let me know anytime.
Will do, brother. Talk soon.
Thank you, my man. Be good.
All right. Yes, sir. The great John Scully. I appreciate everyone who was on here. I think there was some audio difficulties earlier, but I had to get Scully on. Scully's a good guy, and we're all saddened by Artur Beterbiev not being able to fight on June 1st because that's right around the corner. It's right around the corner. So Scully's a good dude, man. Flying Falcon. You mentioned something earlier about coming out to Riyadh, and I can't. Of course, I can't find it now. Oh, Flying Falcon, George, will you entertain us and honor us with your presence in Riyadh in the near future? Yeah, absolutely. I would love to go out there. That's the spot for boxing. But it's been over an hour, and I appreciate everyone for being on here. And hopefully, Artur Beterbiev is going to be healthy. That knee's going to be fine, and hopefully, we have that fight this year because I've heard as well, like everyone else has, that BIVOL, they're looking for a replacement. I don't think they found a replacement yet, but they're looking for a replacement for June 1st. But that undercard is banging. So I'm looking forward to see that, but it's not the same without Beterbiev and BIVOL. All right, make sure you like and subscribe, and at some point I'll get these technical difficulties worked out and things will be better, but hopefully the audio wasn't bad. But again, appreciate everyone in here, and happy Sunday, happy Cinco de Mayo. Hey, this is my second time on, technically, because I was on after the Canelo fight last night, so twice in one day. So I'm coming up, man. I'm coming up. You don't need to thank me, please. I love talking boxing. All right, tomorrow, make sure you check it out. I've got an interview dropping with a young New Jersey fighter. So that's going to drop tomorrow, and we'll talk boxing soon.